Recording. Welcome everybody to the Wednesday 12:30 class. This is an intermediate class and we are using book number 15, Simple Songs. Today we're going to work on Let It Be and we're going to touch on Let It Go from the film Frozen. Those of you that have grandkids probably know the song by heart because it's one of those that I can see why they would sing it over and over and over. I looked at it on YouTube and listened to it a couple of times and went, oh, Disney animation, if that it really and truly is a Disney, I'm not sure if it is or not, but really animation has come a very long way from Bugs Bunny from when I was a kid. Yeah. It's amazing, amazing stuff, and it's actually a very beautiful film. I like all the ice and the snowflakes and all that good stuff. Okay, now remember, when I am playing, to just keep yourself muted. I'm going to give you guys the option to mute and unmute yourself, but it's always better when I'm playing or when I'm giving fingering or chords to leave yourself muted so that there's not a couple of microphones that are very distracting. Don't forget, Friday is your Zoom musical, and this week your artist is Mr. Carey Price. And we have not seen him in his own concert. He was the guy that did dueling banjos right before me in the 7 Artists birthday celebration. So I think you'll be very entertained by Mr. Carey. If you've been on bus trips, you know how entertaining he can be. All right, so I am going to play Let It Go from Frozen before we actually dig into the Let It Be song. And I'm going to put it on a classic background called symphonic. Symphonic. If those of you that have some of the smaller instruments, traditional pianist, which is a classical pianist, is going to work very well for you. I used rhythm preset number 4 on that traditional pianist, and those are for your easy 4s, 10s, fanfares at 128. Now with symphonic, I'm playing it at 68, which is about half the speed. So you have to kind of feel this, but I'm going to be playing it in double time. All right, so here we go with, let's get this right. Okay, here we go with Let It Go from Frozen. Okay, and I just faded it out instead of playing that last A on the top. But did that sound anything like the movie at all? Yeah, it did? Okay, I'm watching D. Yep. I enjoyed the song. I did not know that song before, but I guess it's one of those that you have to watch the movie or just watch the clip. Watch the clip from the movie, and the animation is amazing, amazingly
Dawn,
fun. But because it's 7
Dawn,
pages, and I'm sure some of you didn't know that song, like myself, I'm not going to do fingering for it unless you decide to come in the store. I'm not going to, there's no extra chords for it, so the chords that are there work just fine. But go to your symphonic, and that's probably going to be the best one for it at 68. And I just used rhythm preset 0 and used those strings. But don't be afraid to try other things in there as well. Do we have any questions?
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
I got here late. What song are you playing?
We're going to work on Let It Be, but the song that I just played was Let It Go from the
Okay.
animated film Frozen, and that's as much as we're going to do with that.
Okay.
I just wanted people to be able to hear what it was, and those of you who know the song, go ahead and play it and have a wonderful time with it, because it is very pretty.
I do have a question.
Okay.
When you were setting it up, you said you were going to use rhythm preset 4, and then you just said rhythm preset 0.
Yeah, on symphonic, I used rhythm preset 0. Okay. If on the easy 10s and fanfares, I did this on, hold on, what did I use? Traditional pianist, which is a classical piano, and I did it on rhythm preset 4 because that brought up a lot of the orchestral strings.
Okay, now I have a really silly question. I want everybody to I'm somebody else. I'm not Beverly, I'm somebody else. I don't have a rhythm preset 0.
Yes, you
I
do.
have a 1.
You have a 0 as well.
And where is that hiding?
Oh, it's hiding under your button that says song setup.
Oh,
Okay?
okay.
Or those of you that have normal rhythm preset, or you have just a rhythm preset. That rhythm preset, that's not a dumb question. That's a very good question.
Thank you.
Because you have these 1 through 10s here, and so we just assume that those are the only ones you have. But when you put on rhythm preset by itself, it always brings up a sound, doesn't it?
Well,
or
I
your
don't know.
song
I've
setup.
never done it.
Your song setup all by itself is a sound, top and bottom. So we call that song setup or rhythm preset 0.
Okay, how about style setup? Is that the same thing?
That's the same thing, yes, style
Okay.
setup.
Oh,
Yep.
thank you.
Woo! Yep, just different verbiage on different organs. So,
Okay.
yep, that's what that is. That's style setup 0 or rhythm preset 0. So that's what that is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, how do I find symphonic?
Symphonic is under classic.
Gotcha.
Okay, you go to classic, and then it's going to be it's like your first variation.
Got it. Thank
Okay,
you.
you're welcome. All right. Any other questions? All right, we're going to do some arranging today. Let's go back
Ooh.
to intermediate arranging. That's actually, now if you start to feel like, oops, this is a little bit too much, it's because I was working on Saturday afternoon on Let It Be, and I just got so caught up in it. I listened to YouTube and listened to Paul McCartney do it, and I just got so caught up in doing a really cool arrangement that I forgot what class I was working on. So we can keep it as easy as you wish, or we can arrange it as hard as you wish. So push yourself a little bit on this, and if you start to feel like, oops, I'm a little bit overwhelmed, then just say, okay, I'm just going to keep it easy, and I'm not going to listen anymore, and you can put your hands in your ears and go la, 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 and not listen to me anymore. All right, so Let It Be is a song by the Beatles, and it was written and sung by Paul McCartney and released as a single in 1970. Now, Paul McCartney had a deal with John Lennon that no matter who wrote the song, whether one wrote it or they both wrote it, they both took credit for it. So if you notice, it says words and music by John Lennon and Paul McCartney, but that's not true on this song. He was the only one that did this one. They just had a deal that everything they did was going to be split down the middle as far as publishing rights and credits. So you see Words and Music by the two of them. This was also their final single before Paul decided, I'm leaving the band. I'm doing it on my own. And I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, but I'm sure it did. I mean, you get to a point where you take credit for, you split credit for everything, and all of a sudden you find yourself doing all the work. Yeah, so he left the band at that time. He had the idea for the song after he had a dream about his mother, especially since the band was in turmoil and they were having so many problems. All of a sudden, his mother, who died of cancer when Paul was 14, showed up in his dream, and her name happened to be Mary Patricia McCartney. So Mother Mary is his mommy. So he asked his mommy in the dream how to get out of all this trouble, and she just said, let it be, it's all going to be okay, let it be. And then he woke up and wrote the song. So makes sense. Now, there are a lot of people who look at this and say Mother Mary, and look at that as Mother Mary, Jesus' mother. And when Paul was asked about that, he said, if that's the way you guys want to interpret it, go for it. That's okay. So you can interpret Mother Mary any way you want to interpret it. But in reality, it was his mother, Mary, coming to him in a dream and just telling him that everything was going to be okay. All right, now let me see. I'm trying to figure out if I should just play it first or... No, I did a roadmap on this. Let's do that first so you know exactly where I'm going. The roadmap, first of all, if you look at the song, it looks like there is none, right? But the song is longer than this. So instead of going all the way to the end and going back to the beginning, I am going back to the beginning and playing verse 2. Go to the middle of line 3 on the second page, where you have B, and then you have, I'm going to divide it in the middle of a measure, which you're never supposed to do. So right at the end of that long B, where that line goes, and after your note, I did a repeat dots. Okay, we're going to turn that first part of that measure. I'll show it up to the camera so you can see what I did. That first part of that measure, the first half, we're actually going to turn that into a complete measure. And you're going to put in 2 little pickup notes, the same as at the beginning of the song. So where do those repeat dots go back to? They go back to the first full measure of the song. So you're going to put your repeat dots at the measure marker by find myself. That's the first full measure. And then I put a little 1 over that because that's the first ending. All right, let's see if we can actually see this. Okay, I know it looks kind of hard watching my hand scratchings, but that's what I did, is I put repeat dots in the middle of a measure, turned that first half into a full measure for the first time through. And then the second time through, I'm just keeping that measure. So now the second time through, I put a second bracket over the measure that's actually there, and then continued on. So when I play it, I'll say I'm repeating here and going back to the beginning. I also wrote an introduction and an ending. Now, this is not exactly the way it was done because there was actually a more complicated piano piece that was written for the intro and the ending, but I simplified it. For those of you that would wish to have this intro and ending, shoot me an email later and I will scan it over to you, but it's actually pretty easy. I did this as close as possible to Paul McCartney's original version. So here we go with Let It Be, including my written introduction.
Dawn,
Yes?
before you start, where did you say you put the pickup notes at?
The pickup notes are in that little half a measure.
Okay.
I just put them in there so that you know when you go back.
So it's before the dots.
Before the
Okay,
dots.
got it. Got
Yep.
it. Thank you.
You are welcome. All right, let's see if I can do this. Now I'm going back.
Oh my, yay, 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 that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. It's not perfect, but you know, I got into it and I was having a good time. And so what I did is I saved everything into presets. We can talk a little bit about that, or we can save that for a different day. First thing we need to do is add a few chords. A few, not very many. The chords that are there are actually pretty good. So let's go to page 48, or the first page that you're on. Line 3, first measure, B-E. All right, the F is good for 2 counts. Now you're going to put in 2 chords, one for beat 3 and one for beat 4. Beat 3 is an E minor, E and G. Beat 4 is a D minor, D and F. So what you're actually doing there is you are doing, okay, let me turn this off and just do the easy button. You're doing F. Make sense? So then that bass kind of walks down. Or if I'm doing this one, it sounds like this. Okay, so that's just F, E minor, D minor, C. Let's go to line 5, the last line on the first page. You're going to do the same thing in measure 2. The F is good for 2 counts. Beat 3, put an E minor, E and G. Beat 4, put a D minor, D and F. Now let's go to the second page. Line 3, first measure, same thing. The F is good for 2 counts. Beat 3 is an E minor, E and G. and beat 4 is a D minor, D and F. We're going to do that one more time, and it's the last line of the song. Second measure, the F chord is good for 2 counts. Beat 3 is E minor, and beat 4 is D minor. F, E minor, D minor, C, just walks right down the scale. Fingering, nothing hard with the fingering here, so let's do that next. G2, 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 G2. And in case I forgot one, G2. A3, E1. G2, G2, C3, D4, E5, 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 D4. Second line, D4, C3, C3. E4, E4, F5, E4, E4, D3. E4, D3. Let's go to the third line. D3, C2. G1, G1, G1. A2, C4. G1, G1. Put a little arrow on this C. Make it a 2. D3. Next line, D3. E4, E4. D3. D3, C2, C2, E4, E4, F5, E4, E4, D3, E4, D3, D3, C2, E3, D2, C1 at the top of the page, E2, G4, A5, G4, 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 E3, D2, C1, A2, circle it, you're crossing it over, G1, second line, E5, C3, check mark, E4, E4, F5, E4, E4, D3, E4, D3, let's go to the next line, D3, C2. Now that 2 is going to go for the dotted half note that it's on, and it's going to hold to a half note, put a dot on that half note so it holds for another 3, and then your 2 pickup notes are going to be 2 G's that are on the second line. I had to make the stems go down because there's no room to make the stems go up, just like it is over here. And those G's are going to be 2s. So you might have to put a little check mark in there as well. And then you go back to the beginning of the song. Let's continue. If you're continuing the second time, that C is only going to hold for the 3 counts in the one measure and only 2 counts in the second measure, the way it's originally written, and then go into the let it be. E3, D2, C1, E2, G4, A5, G4, 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 fourth line, E3, D2, C1, A2 with a circle, that means you're crossing it over, G1, high E5, C3, E4, E4, F5, E4, E4, D3, E4, D3, D3, and C2. So, nothing super hard about this. And if you just play it the way it's written, which is what it's at, you're absolutely fine to do that. I would be ending the class like right now. because that's all there is to the song. It's a very easy song. It's a very emotional song. So what you need to do is you need to do some arranging to it. And I will tell you what I did. Now, for those of you who have had me before, and you know that sometimes I put out arranging sheets, I actually did one of those. So if you're interested in an arranging sheet where you can put it in save it into your presets, I will be happy, very, very happy to send that over. And I did this quite quickly, so hopefully everything that would be in there. I started with the song setup. Song setup brings it up to soft and easy, easy 4, easy 4/4, excuse me, easy 4/4, at 68 beats per minute, and we're going to play it double time. Sounds like the last song we did. Now, just to take a note, your drum variation comes up. So if you're just going to soft and easy, easy 4/4, make sure you put your drum variation on, and make sure your upper sound is a Wurlitzer piano. And where is that coming from? It's actually coming from Genius 1 in the red, and your upper Genius in your tabs is a Dolce piano sound number 20. But I did not put all of that in here. You just get, that's the sound you're looking for, is a 70s piano, a Wurlitzer piano. Okay, you also want to turn the introduction off. You don't have to take notes on this, because all you have to do is say, scan me the sheet, and I'll send it all over to you. Why? Because we're not going to start with the soft and easy intro. We're starting with the one that I wrote. Now, I did it all on the upper keyboard. You don't have to do that. You can actually just start it with the chords and the notes and play it the way it's easier. What I did is I actually played full-fingered chords. But if you don't know the full-fingered chords, don't kill yourself learning them. You can just come down to the lower keyboard and play it down here. And just play your notes up here. Pretty cool. It just goes straight down the line. And if you want that sheet as well, again, shoot me an email for the intro ending. And for those of you that wish to have the optional advanced arrangement, just let me know. Your Orchestra Plus is also off. I took it, I don't know if I took it off or if it just came up that way on song setup. You're also starting this with no drums. The first section of the song has no drums. Now, if you have problems with your rhythm, and if you're just getting started, sometimes just playing on those piano backgrounds with no drums is hard to do. Then skip that part. Keep your drums all the way up if you need the drums to help you keep your beat. I took them off for the first section of the song. I also took off my lower tabs. Your lower tabs just erases all your lower chord sound. So you don't want any lower chord sound in the first section. What else did I do? I changed the Blue Genius 1. Blue Genius 1 was, I think it was a scat. It came up to some vocals. I turned it on to a brass, synthesized brass. You can put it onto anything you want to give it some fullness. I did not use that button until the last preset.
I have a question.
Yes.
You didn't play the lower keyboard on your right hand, right? Did you go down there, guys?
I don't think I went to the lower keyboard. I think I
No.
stayed completely on the upper.
Yeah.
So why
Yeah.
am I changing that? Because later on, I'm going to add it to my upper sounds. So right now, I'm just setting it. I just took the lower Genius and changed it to a brass synthesizer. And then in a future preset, see, I'm not playing this right now. See, yeah, it's a scat. So if you change it to a different sound, then you can put it later into a different preset.
Thank you.
Okay. So what am I actually looking for? I'm looking for having just the bass player and the piano player. So those of you with easies, 2s, 4s, 10s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 10s, you can go to one of your pianist backgrounds and just keep your drums off to start with. If you need your drums, please feel free to put them in. Okay, now the first section of the song goes all the way to measure 16. So if you count your measures, measure 16 is on the first page, last line over the C chord, the last measure of the page. So measure 16 is where you would change the preset. And I'm going to play that first section of the song again. And I'm starting it with just the upper keyboard, which is just your Wurlitzer piano. And I've got the pickup notes already written in so that you can go right into this. And then when you start on the lower keyboard, it's going to bring in the bass player and your little piano player going. Okay, that's where you're going to change. Once you play that C chord in measure 16, that's when you're going to change the presets, not before, after you play the C chord. So again, it's kind of in the middle of a measure that you're going to change the preset. What am I doing different in this preset? There's still no drums, but what I added was my lower tabs so that my lower chord would come in. Okay, that's the difference between the first time, where you just have your piano and your bass player. Then I added lower tabs. Okay, and I just saved that to a second preset. But if you can do that with a one-finger push, those of you with the smaller instruments, look for where your lower sounds are. Freedom 3, it's over here. Easy 10, it's over here. So you want to find your ensemble, and you would just push that ensemble, lower ensemble. Here you would push ensemble for the Freedom 3, one button push. Or just push your lower tabs, turn them on. You should have some stuff already turned on. This one had strings 8, the string vocal sustain, flute 8, and flute 4 already turned on, but you can add as many as you want. So that's what we did different for the second preset. Then at measure 24, 24 is that fun little measure that we added, okay, in the middle of the second page, where your first ending is. After you play the C chord, that starts your new preset. You want to make sure you get that bum, bum, bum. You want to make sure you get that in first. Then you're going to change the preset again. And what are you going to do to make that preset? Take your drums and take them all the way to the top and put on a duet on the upper harmony. Now, those of you that have the smaller instruments, you're going to need a measure or two of fill-in to be able to do a 2-button push. So don't be afraid to do now you're not going to get much until you get your drums up there either. So lay on your fill-in, either on your foot or on your button, and then do your drums all the way to the top, and then change your harmony. And if you need a measure, take a whole measure to do it. It doesn't matter. So your next verse is going to be up here. And if you need lyrics, go to YouTube and you can actually get your lyrics, or go to Lyrics A to Z, and that site will also give you the lyrics that you can just print them out. So the next verse, drums and duet. I'm over here. Okay, then again at measure 16, that's where you're going to change it again. And what we're going to do is add some bigger drums. Now, how do you do that? Well, if you've got a smaller instrument, you can't. You're just going to have to do lots of fill-ins to create that. If you're on a larger instrument where you have a choice of 2 drummers, turn your drum variation off. Here where you get a little bit heavier drummer there. And then you're also going to add a string tab. I add the tab string 16, and then I saved that into the preset. So when you get to the Let It Be part, you've got, oh, I'm sorry, we're over here. We're still on the bottom. The measure 16. Once you do that bum, bum, bum in measure 24, now you're going to change it one more time, and we're going to play the last part of the song. The last part of the song, they actually added horns. In Paul McCartney's band, they added some horns. So the quickest way to do it was just put some brass in, and then add your upper on in your blue, and it automatically just brought your brass to the top. And I also added a string tab 8, so all I'm doing is making my sound bigger and more full. I'm still on a duet harmony, and so it made it really big. The middle of the second page, measure 24. Then you can play your ending, and you can play the ending right on that same preset. You can end it right there if you want, or you can go back to the first preset where you just had the piano. And you can end it right there, or you can do a no chord and finish it the way you end it the way you finished it. And do a C arpeggio at the end. Okay. Now, if you feel like you got pushed too hard today, go back and keep it simple. But if you learned one thing or got one idea about, ooh, I kind of like what happened here, if you just make one change in the middle of the song, you are learning how to become an arranger. Just changing presets is not, just changing your sounds is not the only way to make an arrangement. Changing your drums, taking your drums away, adding your drums back in, those are all ways of making an arrangement. I try to do one-button pushes. Now, in this case, I couldn't. I had 2 buttons or tabs to push, so that's when memorizing presets comes into play. And those of you that have the A, B, C, D banks, or you have saving presets, it's the easiest thing in the world to do, so don't be afraid to do it. What you do is you set up the first part of your song, set it up exactly the way you want it, and then you save it. How do you save it? You touch the Memorize button, Then you touch the A or whatever bank you want. Let's just go to A right now. A's not going to light up, so don't get all upset. But it will read in the window that I am memorizing to preset A. And I want to do that one to preset A1. That was already lit up, so it didn't matter. And you'll see it in the window. Now, do I want it with style and with transpose? I always check yes and yes. You want yes with style, yes with transpose. Actually, with transpose doesn't really matter, but since I'm constantly changing keys for everything, I automatically just touch yes and yes. Are we done yet? No, because it's still in the window, and it says memorizing too. So you're not done until it says memorized. The way to do that is to go back to your red memorize button and shut it off, and it will say in the window memorized to preset A1, and it goes away. Now, don't touch A2, but we're going to work on A2. We're going to work on A2 from what we just did. So now you want to push your buttons to change things. And I've got the sheet here. Once you have things pushed and pressed, and you know what you want to do, and I think all we did there was add the lower tabs, now you can memorize that. Memorize A2 with style, with transpose, yes, yes. Turn your memorize button off, and it's there. If you have never done this before, this is a great song to start because it's not hard. And you know that I don't have 20 classes anymore. I only have 9. So you may come into the store at any time, show me what you're doing, and we will work on it so that you understand how to memorize presets. It's really fun, it's easy, and it's the easiest way to start really making arrangements where you have to do more than a one-button push. Because then all you have to do is go right down the line. Now, when you're ready to go to the next part of the song, which the next part of the song goes back to here, you can take my sheet and just read it and go, okay. Oh, she wants drums and she wants a duet. So I'm going to take my drums, add them all the way to the top, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to turn on duet. And I am going to memorize to A3. Okay? Don't touch A3 until it's set to go. You touch A3 before you're set to go, you got to start over and go back to A2 and move on from there. So memorize A3 with style, yes, with transpose, yes. Turn your memorize button off and you're good to go. Now from that one, you want to work on and set up what you're going to do in the next section. So what am I doing in the next section? I'm going to turn off the drum variation because I wanted bigger drums. And I'm going to add a string tab so I have bigger sound on the top. Once you have it set up, and you can play it and figure out if you like it, then you're going to memorize it to the next one, A4. Just remember to keep a running list on a piece of paper so that you don't accidentally memorize A3 2 times in a row, because then you'll erase what you just did. So just keep a running list of where you have them. You can even mark them in your page. This is A1, this is A2, this is A3, that's A4, and then A5 is the very last section. And what did I do in the last section? I turned on the blue solo upper because I had already set up my brass in that bottom, and I added another string tab. So then you memorize that to A5. Memorize A5 with style, yes, with transpose, yes. Turn your memorize button off, and there it is. If you get an arrangement that you love, save it to your stick or your disc so that you save it. If you are on a fanfare or a journey, save it into the banks, into your organ, because you have an internal recorder that will hold everything. If you're unsure, again, come into the store and show me what you did, and we'll work on it in the store so you can figure it out. I know this is supposed to be an intermediate class. If this went a little over your head today, don't worry about it. If you're not there yet, it's okay. But it's not hard to do, and most of your organs can do that. So I highly recommend you giving it a shot and trying it. Okay, do you want me to play it one more time? Do you want to play it along with me? Okay. All right. If you want to play it along with me, please feel free to do so. I can't slow it down because by using presets, I'd have to have a whole nother set done with my presets lowered. So here we go. I am going to play the intro, and you can kind of feel along with me. Here we go. Second one. Third one. Fourth one. Fifth one. Ending. Back to the beginning one. And the final one. So you end it the way you started. Okay, did you enjoy that? Yeah? Cool. Okay, if you need the arrangement sheet and you want the intro ending sheet, don't forget to shoot me an email, and I am more than happy to scan that over to you. Or if you just got one idea, wow, I can start the song with no drums and add my drums later, or I can add my lower chord sound later in the song. If you got one idea for arranging a song, then you are 100% successful with today's lesson. Okay? It's not always about changing a sound, even though that's the easiest way. You can add other things, your harmonies, your lower sounds, drums. It's fun. It's just a lot of fun stuff. Any questions about anything?
Yes, Don.
Okay.
I do. On your preset 4, which was your measure 16th the second time around,
Uh-huh.
you took off the drum variation
Correct.
and you added strings,
Correct. I added strings.
which is 16, 8,
Uh-huh. Just that 16.
16.
Yeah. I'll scan over the sheet to you, Ramon. Shoot me an email so that I can do
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's not that my arrangements are so doggone good, because they're okay. They're just okay. Yours are going to turn out to be 100 times better. But what this does is it forces you to find where everything is on your instrument. And when you start to get a handle on everything that your instrument can do, then you are the master. This is the slave. That's the way it works. So that's what we're looking for, is you learning where everything is on your instrument. And that's why sometimes just copying what I do to get you started gets you going. Then you start thinking of your own stuff, and then you can start really taking off. Hopefully I got some creative juices going for you today. Next week, what are we going to do next week? Wow.
Dawn,
Yes?
what's the email address again?
The email address is 5028 at fletchermusic.com. I answer any and all emails.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Ode to Joy, I think we're gonna not do that since that was in book 1 and all of you that had me for level 1. Now, Love Me Tender, that's a different story. This is a completely redone Love Me Tender with a lot of new chords. So we'll do Love Me Tender. And let me see, can we do Memory as well? Yeah, I think we can, actually. We'll also do Memory from Cats because there's not a lot of changes there. So if we get, I think we can get through both of those. So Love Me Tender and Memory from Cats next week. How does that sound?
Good.
Good. All right. All right. You guys are
Um,
awesome. Any
Dawn,
other questions?
on your preset 5, you said you added brass,
Mhm.
and you said you pushed a blue button.
Yeah, I had it in the Blue Genius, and I had it waiting for me so that on that number 5, I just made sure it went into the upper
Okay,
key.
I have an aria, so I'm not sure that I
Oh, if you've
don't have a
okay.
genius.
If you've got an aria, you just go into sounds and you put it where you want to put it, and you want to put it in the upper. So when you're memorizing presets, you're just going to go to an unused sound, and probably your unused sound is going to be one of your solo sounds. And you want to
Okay,
find,
so, but I put that in preset 5.
yeah, yep, you're just going to add it.
Okay.
You're going to add that to everything that you've already got.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
arias are so easy to get around because you're just going to find
Okay.
an unused sound, tell it what you want it to be, and tell it where you want it to go.
Okay.
You want it to go into the
The
upper.
blue button confused me.
Oh,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
Okay, it's all right. Thank you.
Yep,
Thank
I forgot. Marquees and Grand Marquees and arias and inspires have just sounds. They're actually a lot easier to find things. You just find a sound, tell it to go to the upper.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Very cool. Anybody else have any questions? Ooh, we're perfect on time. Excellent. Excellent, excellent. Don't forget the Friday Zoom musical is Mr. Carey Price. He's always entertaining. So you want to join us for that. And I'll see you all next week, or I'll see you on
Hey.
Friday in the morning for the Zoom class. All right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good class.
Thank you.